sounds like a man that's free of the shackles of any expectation of him ever getting a job, and is going to start swinging a little bit less diplomatically at the problems inside the football club and stop shielding people that don't deserve to be shielded. He himself has not set the world on fire. He has not done what I expected him to do and has not been strong enough to do it. But I also think that the culture of that football club is so poor that I don't know who you could have got in there to change in such a short space of time. It will take time. If you're going to give Ten Hag, and that people are advocating, on one hand, I do like the fact he says he's heaping pressure on Ten Hag, by the way. You get this right, you recognise the fact that this needs open heart surgery, you can fix this in a year. So he just switched the bottle onto Ten Hag, saying if you're as good as you think you are and you get the support that you think you're going to get, then you'll fix this in a year. Other people that I think probably are less commercially experienced inside the door, Man United as an operation rather than as players, are saying it's going to take 3 or 4 years. Yeah. I think it will probably take between 4 and 5 transfer windows to cull, clean up, polish and refocus Manchester United into a team that can compete with Liverpool, Man City, unless Liverpool and Man City drop their standards. But I do think there's something unique about Man United in terms of the challenges and the scrutiny and the difficulty they've got, and the fact that we are not comparing Man United to try and overcome Arsenal and Tottenham. We're comparing Manchester United to try and overcome Liverpool and Man City. And the reasons why I say it take them longer to recover is not to recover to get in the top 4. I think this guy, Ten Hag, I'm talking about being able to get in amongst split Man City and Liverpool, perhaps distance themselves from Chelsea, and that's where I think it will take longer, because I think that Ten Hag can go and wake them up because they're asleep. This nonsense that we listen to, I don't care whether Paul Scholes had a private conversation and repeated it, but the idea that some of these players like Lingard are talking about the dressing room is a mess. First of all, I saw you in a dressing room 2 or 3 years ago. All you're interested in was busting moves. But watch that crap, right? And I've looked at this culture of Man United become more and more diluted, and this dressing room mess is a sum of all its parts. So the problem for me is that how quickly, and also the support structures, and he said it himself, Ranieri, about best in class, about having the best people in class in all aspects of the business, and that is what the other clubs have got. So Ten Hag cannot do it on his own. Correct. He will need to have a proper structure of elite support, whether it's from the physio to the technical director. It absolutely has to be. So are you
with your friend from boxing on Saturday night, Rio, who sat with us? He says he doesn't agree with Ranieri's take that United requires open heart surgery, and he says what they do need, 6 areas need to be addressed: the culture, improve recruitment, structural reset, clear playing style, embrace youth and develop players.
Right, so that is open heart surgery, because they've currently got none of that. Right? So what they've currently got is a pig's heart in there. So let's take a pig's heart in there and put someone's heart in there with substance and look across what open heart surgery looks like. It means root and branch, doesn't it? It means a rebooting of your entire respiratory system. That's what it means. So with that in mind, Rio is saying the same thing in a different guise, just objecting to the terminology. Yeah. This is belt and brace stuff. What else do you think you need to do? Those are 6 key components of a football club. They are the biggest components: proper leadership, proper best in class, proper recruitment. Okay, fantastic, Sherlock. But these are the things that actually underpin all aspects of the football club. So they are open heart surgery. Yeah. This isn't putting a stent in. This isn't us looking for this is a quadruple bypass that's required in this football club.
I like this medical theme you're keeping going now.
Do you like it? Well, I mean, obviously we spoke about last week about the reports in the press that he was coming at a certain level of wage that was £600,000 a week net. Yeah. Which we had to walk through, Trevor, that would gross up to £1 million a week. And I felt that was just ridiculous. I mean, we are already in the territory of ridiculous level of return for footballers. I don't begrudge anybody making money, Jim. People deserve to be successful in their field, and if they're good at what they do, they should get rewarded. But we are getting into the level of what footballers are getting paid is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now, I don't know whether this is £500,000 a week after tax or £500,000 a week before tax. Either which way, we are moving into a territory of obscene amounts of money. And players are getting more money than they ever dreamed about. Unfortunately for me, I don't understand why they walk around like half the time like impending doom. They should walk around like Christmas has come every day, all of these players, because they get such rewards that no one would have ever envisaged. 1 point difference between Liverpool and Man City over the last 5 seasons. I don't think that Haaland's going to send them off over the horizon. Liverpool are a formidable side. Chelsea will get themselves together somewhere along the line. United will become better.
But you said yesterday we're in danger of a 3-tier Premier League.
We are, but that doesn't mean that Man City are going to win the league every season.
They'll certainly lead the way.
I'm not so sure.
And the gulf will widen.
I'm not but between the three that are there, and that may well be true. That may well be true, and it's for the others to bridge that gap. It's for the others. We've got a big six in this league. We've got a big six which consists of Tottenham, Arsenal, and Manchester United, arguably. And those clubs are not going to sit on their hands and allow these clubs to disappear into the ether. Liverpool are margins away from Man City. Margins.
Yeah.
So I look at it and say, yes, it's a component part that Man City haven't got. And it will add to them, but I don't think it will send them into the stratosphere. I think that Liverpool have bought a boy in Diaz that will change the direction of travel for Liverpool. So I think that there's going to be still the competitivity. But how many teams do you really expect in any league? I know in an ideal world we'd have from 1 to 20 would all be rocking and rolling and competing. But in most leagues, you don't have more than 3 or 4 sides that are really going to dominate those leagues. And why would it be any different for this league? Well, I'm not having the inflation in football salaries because it has to become somewhere. People cry and they get nasty about the reality of the European Super League, but these are the reasons why these people talk about 2 tournaments and X amount of teams going into the Champions League and X amount of this, and managers sitting there crying about fixture lists and telling everybody that it's a hard done by world that they live in. And the reasons why is because this constant need to keep feeding this ridiculous express of finances to keep on raising the bar on player salaries, and ostensibly it is done by the clubs that have a kind of ownership model. And let's be fair to Man City. Over the last 3 seasons, their net spend has been no different to Tottenham's, no different to Manchester, no different to Chelsea's. They've spent net 200 million quid. So this argument that we constantly make about they're a cash cow for spending money, they don't. They balance their books a little bit better than they have done previously. But there's only a certain type of club that will pay a £500,000 a week wage. It'll be a club that's owned by an oligarch or a Middle Eastern consortium, because their agenda is different. It's not a football agenda. Football is the product that they're attaching themselves to,
right,
to legitimise other parts of their reasons for being there.
So foreseeably, this gap's never going to narrow down. It's only going to get wider.
Well, the only way it's going to narrow down is if there is real governance, and if the threat of independent regulation comes about with the FA being stepped in as a proper regulator and financial controls are put on the Premier League to say, if you buy a football club, you can spend what you want for 3 years, but after that, you can't keep on spending that way. And also, we want wage controls. But £500,000, no one should really want this. We throw these figures around in a country that's got food banks up the yin-yang, as if 500 grand a week on a football is just something we should all accept.
Yeah.
They're not worth it. He's not worth £500,000 a week. And these players that are getting paid this kind of money aren't worth it. Back in the day, when people were making lots and lots of money, do you know what the key component was? You had to be really, really, really good. And it seems to me now in football that you can be quite average and become a multi-millionaire. And it's not bitterness, it's not resentment. I've had my time, I made a lot of money. And I was really good at what I did, and I wasn't so good at other things. That's why I cost myself a lot of money. In this world of football, it just seems to me sometimes, and not in the case of Erling Haaland, because he isn't mediocre, but the raft beneath him, what that 500 grand salary does, right, this is what a 500 grand salary does. It makes a 200 grand salary look like it's an average pay. So someone that's average in the Premier League gets paid £10 million a year. And you've got to sit back and pause for a second and go, aren't these players going to kick with 1 foot? And you look at it and go, how do you get £10 million a year to be an average Premier League footballer? That's what a 500 grand salary does to the rest of the pay packets.
Why didn't you and I just stick to kicking a ball about?
I know.
If only.
I felt that Ranić would go into Manchester United and he would be a sea change, and he would have the courage of his convictions to be able to put his foot down. I think it's much more difficult than that, because I think the entire culture of Manchester United is wrong. I think the fabric of the playing squad is wrong. I think they've bought the wrong players, and they're going to have to change it. And I think anybody that could have gone in there, I think if you'd have put Pep Guardiola in there for 6 months, you'd have struggled with the current crop of players and the current attitude, outlook and disposition of that football club, from the owners to the fans to the whole outlook. Now, of course, the fans are dissatisfied primarily because of Glazers, but also additionally because of the performance of the team. And all ends, to try and square that circle, you try and get a winning team. Yeah, but I don't think anyone could have done it in 6 months. So,
Simon, you're just the man. Come down this road with me now.
Yeah.
Has Ranić been a success in his time at United?
No, but I don't.
Right.
No.
So why offer him something else?
Because the brief, we're not privy to the brief.
No.
And my thought process was, why would he want to be a consultant? He's an influencer. He's a person that makes decisions and wants to implement them. So now what he is a consultant, which basically parachutes in, looks at other people's works and let other people implement his decisions. If he's happy with that,
Roy Keane says there should be a clean break.
Yeah, but Roy Keane's not the oracle. No,
I'm not saying that.
Roy Keane,
but he certainly knows more about Manchester United than you and I.
No, he knows about Manchester United 15 years ago. He doesn't know what Manchester United understands.
But
and
if
wants.
you're telling me Ranić's been a failure, he's done next to nothing.
No, I didn't say he's been a failure. I didn't say.
Well, he hasn't been a success.
There's a difference, yes, because I think the landscape would not allow anybody to be a success by the parameters of what we consider success to be.
Yeah, but you would never reward someone who hasn't been a success.
But the bottom but depends what you think he's done behind the scenes.
But what do you think he's done?
Well, I don't think that anyone could have done any better. I think this is a disparate group of players that aren't good enough for the purpose, that have been bought through a bad recruitment policy, that have not been led from the top, with a dysfunctional football club that needs to pull itself together.
Roy Keane understands the DNA of that football club.
He
knows
what it was.
What it takes to be successful. He just wants that back again.
He understood what it was. He understood what Alex Ferguson produced. He understood what David Gill produced. He doesn't understand. Of course, he understands what Man United want to be. He doesn't understand what they are now and how they've got here. And he doesn't understand how it's because he didn't walk into Man United when it was broke, and he didn't leave Man United when it was broke. It's broken now, so he doesn't understand that culture. He understands what he wants it to be again, and the dynamic of it is how do you do that? And you've made the point earlier on about two managers that have been mainstays inside football clubs, and once they've gone,
100%.
how do you recreate that? How do you find that
big
mechanism?
notice of what they do.
You've always advocated strong leadership.
Indeed, I
so
have.
At the top of the house at Manchester United, do you not agree this morning they should be turning at the end of the season in a quiet conversation with Ranić saying good luck with Austria and it's goodbye as well?
They're probably doing that anyway.
Yes, I do. I do agree with that. And I also think that strong leadership would have been to set its stall out with what it wanted. When it wanted rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it should have gotten in Conte or it should have gotten in Pochettino. Stop mucking about.
Yeah.
If you want to pay 30, 50, 60, 70 million pounds for some of these worthless players that don't turn up, you can pay 20 million pounds of a compensation for a manager that you do want.
Yeah.
It seems to me that they don't know what they want, so they constantly pontificate and try and find a way to hodgepodge their way through, looking for someone else to be the only idea in the room. I mean, look, this Liverpool side are a really, really good side. And if there is one slip up from Man City, if Man City open the door by losing a game or drawing a game, this team will do the quadruple.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are feral in their approach to the game in terms of they don't stop at anything. They are probably at this moment in time in their richest vein of form. The group of players they've got are irrepressible and irresistible. They are an irresistible force, and the only thing is sometimes you come up against an immovable object. And that immovable object may be City winning every single game. But I'm telling you now, if City drop a point, Liverpool can do this quadruple.
Okay.
They can do this quadruple, and it will break the
again,
mould for football.
But I put it to you, Simon, and if they do that and break the mould
Injuries permitting
of football, what after that? I mean, surely that's the time for Klopp to think, right now, wind down.
Why?
Never mind accelerating talks to extend it, because he's at the pinnacle. He's climbed the mountain.
Well, there is the argument that quitting whilst you're ahead isn't the same as quitting, but the bottom line is why? He's 54 years of age. He's a football manager. This is what he does. If he's saying to the world, I'm not going to manage any more football teams, that's one thing. But if you're in a space where you are, he's been there 9 years, he will be there 9 years at the end of his contract, which is almost unheard of in Premier League terms.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here he is now. He's got the absolute backing of the world looking at him, from the fans on the terraces to the media to the players to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at this guy going, you're a phenomenon of a football manager, right? And why would you want to change that? Why would you want to take that? These are moments in time. You're a long time retired or a long time moving away from something. Now, I'm not suggesting he's going to retire if he leaves Liverpool, but why would you leave an environment where everything is where you need it to be?
The
You've
quadruple,
built it.
one would think, would see him expend one hell of a lot of energy.
Ferguson didn't retire after the treble.
But would he have the energy to go beyond and accelerate the talks and go beyond 2024? Yeah.
Of course, he's 54 years of age. You know, he's a very strong, motivated man. He's an incredible leader. I don't always agree with what he says, but I do agree with his outcomes. And this Liverpool team, alongside Man City, are two of the greatest sides that we've seen in the 30 years of the Premier League, without doubt. Right. Let's also compare the Chelsea were dreadful in the first half against Real Madrid, and Real Madrid were battered within an inch of their life at the Bernabeu by Chelsea, and Man City were a better side, and Man City have no fear of Real Madrid in this second leg, because Real Madrid have got to take the game to Man City because they're the ones that are losing it, and Man City will score against them. And they will score against them, unless they're as profligate as they were last night. They will score against them. They're a better side, and I think you can take the negatives and say, yes, they should have been outside. They should have put away those chances and really put them to the sword. And the reasons why I say Madrid were resolute is when you're getting beat 2-0 and then 3-1. Some teams would fold under the sort of quality that City were putting the pressure they put them under. But Madrid kept on going and kept on going. And so they put themselves in a situation where they could score 3 goals. Now, if you can score 4 goals and miss the chances that you get, you'll score 4 goals in the Bernabeu as well.
I can't see any other different outcome.
No,
I really can't, with the way that the game
could
went.
Score 4 in the Bernabeu?
Well, Chelsea...
This is Real Madrid have shown they've got what it takes
Chelsea
to stay in
Chelsea scored 3 and battered them.
Barcelona scored 4.
But they got rid of Chelsea. They get rid of Chelsea.
I think looking back at that game,
City were better
Real
team
Madrid
than
have
Chelsea.
got to be favourites.
Looking back at that game, even
leg.
the first leg against Chelsea, I think Real Madrid were fortunate to win that game, because you look at the chances that Chelsea created.
Doesn't matter.
It weren't great saves from Courtois.
This is what
it was
they
poor
do,
finishing.
Though.
Well,
They get European know-how in abundance,
they have.
and they win out.
But
in
they
the
have.
end.
But I've said before, I don't feel Barcelona and Real Madrid are the gold standard anymore. I've told you where the gold standard is. It's here in the northwest of England with Liverpool and Manchester City.
They're the gold standard in the minds of us that sit there saying these guys know a way through. They'll find a way through. They've been here before. Yeah, they've been here before in a different guise.
But they're showing it.
They went to Chelsea. They took a 3-1 lead back from Chelsea to the Bernabeu and got smashed by Chelsea. And we're fortunate to get back into that game. Now, it's not the same here. Man City have smashed them, let them back in the game, but they're still losing. So to go to the Bernabeu with that team, I would pick Man City to go through this every day. But
Real Madrid, Simon, didn't play well and they scored 3.
And the weakness City had was they'll have Kyle Walker back, and they'll have Cancelo back, and so the balance in that team will be far different. They won't have Fabinho at the back.
Did you travel in with Trevor Sinclair this morning?
No, because you've got to call it for what it is.
Yeah.
Talking about their finances is one thing. Talking about
but
their
here's
on the pitch
another
is
fact.
another.
Chelsea didn't go through, Real Madrid did.
But
They find a way.
Nip and tuck.
They find a way.
They found a way.
They went to
I don't think they're going to find a way.
They went to the
against
Bernabeu, beat them
Manchester City.
3-0 in the first. They were 3-0 up and let them back in the game. City are in front. They're not having to come back from.
And you think
3-1.
City are well capable of going to the Bernabeu and scoring 4?
I don't think they need to score 4, but if they do, I think they're capable of doing it, yeah. We'll be in great trepidation for Man City when they beat Atletico Madrid 1-0 and went to Atletico against all the backdrop of the hostility and the negative tactics and the dark arts. Was there this sort of, watch out for Man City? They're 1-0 up by definition. They've won the first leg 1-0.
Yeah.
4-3, 1-0, same thing.
But when you're 2-0 up after 10 minutes, Simon, you think it's not going to end 4-3. What an opportunity for City to strangle Real Madrid.
Man City will be better defensively, and Madrid are going to.
What's happened to you this morning?
Because I've never had a problem with Man City on the pitch. I have a problem with aspects of Man City's financing and ownership model, but that's not fair to bring that onto the pitch. They're a brilliant football team.
Real Madrid will be better, Simon.
Will they?
The second leg.
Why? Why will they be better?
I can't see it.
I think that Real Madrid are going to have to play out their skins, and Man City are going to have to play 20%.
Is there not
below.
a case that City should never have let Real Madrid back into that game last night, and they will come to regret it? They were called naive in the studio last night.
No, well, I think that's silly, because naivety. They keep on making this argument about because they haven't won the Champions League, they're naive in Europe. They've been playing in Europe for years. All their players have played around Europe in European winning teams. So they're not naive. It's a couple of mistakes were made. They had a makeshift back four. John Stones was gone off through injury, so even when they had a makeshift back four, they lost that. They were depleted by that. They'll be better, and they will beat Real Madrid.
About 2,000 and 3,000 fans, Simon, took part in a protest against the owners at the weekend. We were assured this was the start of what would be a relentless and consistent stream of protests. So, Ten Hag, as he prepares to walk into Old Trafford, Simon, how easily or otherwise solvable are the problems now encompassing this club on and off the pitch? I mean,
winning games.
Do the problems on the pitch go hand in hand with the problems off the pitch? And the problems off the pitch, amongst others, probably the main one is the presence of the Glazers.
The presence of a poor football team with players that are not earning the right to play for Man United anymore is part and parcel of it. The lack of direction, the lack of quality of personnel supporting the infrastructure of a football team that needs to be far better than it currently is a bigger part of it. Graham Souness's observation in the Sunday Times is absolutely spot on, in sort of hand in hand with my observations last week. Eric Ten Hag, or whoever it is working into a situation where he's got a handful of problems and it's going to take him a long time to get them right. And if you think they're going to do it with people like Darren Fletcher and Murtaugh behind the scenes and the current makeup of the boardroom, that poor sod's going to have a very difficult time. He's walking into torrid environments. The Glazers are part of the problem. Of course, they're part of the problem because they don't communicate properly. The fans' expectations and demands of what they expect from their football club. I understand they're Man United, and I'm the first person to turn around and suggest that there's a uniqueness about Man United. And I know what they did in 1992 or whenever it was, and saw off the attentions of Sky. The world has changed. It's a different dynamic now. The Glazers own a football club. You want someone to come along and write a £5 billion cheque to take over the ownership, then we can start talking. Gary, get on with running Salford. Your club doesn't observe most of the rules. Your club is part and parcel of challenges outside of the Premier League that could be argued are not good for football as well. Stop virtue signalling to the fans.
But Gary's voice is relevant though, Simon. Come on.
No, it's relevant so far
Manchester United has been a massive part of his life.
It's nonsense what he's talking about. It's nonsense what he's talking about. He's virtue signalling to the fans about his vantage point of how United needs to be changed. If he's got a solution, if he's got a buyer that's going to come in, does he want the Glazers to give it away? Because they're not going to. In the real world where we have to live, not in the idealistic world. I'm sorry, if I was the Glazers, and this is going to enrage Man United fans, I'd change the rules and say can't come in after 15 minutes. Go on in, demonstrate outside. You want to have a fight, we'll have a fight. You want to be clever at our expense, we're going to produce a winning side somewhere along the line. That's our job. We're going to get a manager in here, we're going to change the direction, and we're going to start making sure this club performs on the pitch. That would be my focus. I'd communicate better.
So you wouldn't let United fans, if you were one of the Glazers, you wouldn't let United fans in?
I look at it now and I watch some of those
15 minutes.
Well, I think this demonstration of coming in after 17 minutes to create disruption, to create disharmony, they're crap, Man United. The only reason they won that game on Saturday was because Norwich handed it to them. Their goalkeeper throws in the third goal and they give them the first one. Otherwise, Norwich start winning these games. And you look at United and say, what a bunch of players. Look at Pogba. People saying, oh, we shouldn't boo him when he comes off. He reaps what he sows. He's earned what he's got. He's got that relationship and reaction from the fans because of his performances over 4 or 5 years. A lot of these players at United, and they're beginning to start to unwind it. Matic out of contract, start getting rid of them. Getting rid of these players and start changing it. And that's the one thing that will save Ten Hag is if he gets an opportunity to come in there and clear the decks and start from a different platform than the one that's there. And that means behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, it means the players, it means the fans. You're not getting rid of the Glazers. Whether you like it or you don't, if you can pull together some money and you can pull together 3 or 4 billion quid, then come to the table and tell them you want out the door. Other than that, your background noise.
So protests like this are useless. They'll achieve nothing.
Well, of course they're not going to achieve anything. This is about money. Now, they think, and if they want to think that, they're entitled to do as they want. Is it constructive? Does it produce a team? Has there anything changed? A year ago, Man United, Man City, and all of these clubs did not nearly destroy football. What they tried to do was evolve football in the wrong fashion. UEFA are trying to do the exact same thing. We'll have a Champions League with more teams in it, with coefficients. We'll get rid of meritocracy and we'll let people come in. What they tried to do was countermand the influx of money from people like Man City and PSG and now Newcastle because it's off the charts and they need more revenue to meet the players' expectations. They did it the wrong way, but Gary keeps talking about this as if it was something that was not an inevitability and it's something that won't come again. It will come again, it was just in the wrong guise. And if I think someone's a slob and slovenly in their ways because of a body of work over 5 years, not one game, that's what I'll call them, whether it's Paul Pogba or someone that works for me. You might not like the language, but I will use the language that I choose on national radio in my personal life. But the bottom line is I'm not basing my opinion upon one game. I'm basing it upon a body of work over 5 years playing for Manchester United. So go back to your theory about why is it you think that Pogba's not being supported, which, by the way, he was from his manager, and Harry Maguire is?
I don't have a strict theory. I don't know why it is, but there's clearly disparity in it. And I don't know what you're trying to suggest that I'm saying, but the point I'm making...
I'm asking you. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm asking you a question.
I don't have a theory, but the fact in and of itself that one player, when they get booed, not even in relation to Man United, consider he wasn't even booed on Man United soil and he got supported, and Pogba isn't, shows that you can't be doing that. How do you think Pogba feels if Maguire's getting supported and he's not?
Well, I'll interject here. I think there's a reason, and I would say the reason is because he's out of contract in the summer and the fans are very much probably thinking he's going to leave, which, again, that happens at different clubs, and that's the way it is. You're right, fans do have an opinion. What I would say is, you have to the Pogba argument. If we're going on that, there are other circumstances around the club as to why they're failing. It's not all on Pogba. He's the fourth most creative player.
And no one has said it as, by the way.
No, but he's got the fourth most assists in the Premier League this season. He's got more than Bruno. Right, his goals are down. But let's get one thing right with Pogba. Right, he needs to be in a great side. We saw that at Juve, and we've seen it with France. He's not in a great team and hasn't been for a while. When he played at Juve, he was a 1 in 5 goal scorer. 1 in 5 games, roughly. At United, he's been 1 in 6. What did they expect him? What did they expect they were buying? Did they think they were buying Ronaldo or Messi? They weren't.
I think the thing is, with Pogba is, like, I'm a massive Pogba fan. I did expect him to step up and go another level. But the point I'm making is, if you look at the problems you've had with Pogba, in 1920, he was played into an injury. He had an injured ankle.
But he still got 16 goals that season.
He did. He got 16 goals, but this was 1920, but he was played into an injury which made it worse. Also, there's a problem that this club has with nutrition. Lukaku was made overweight. Martial, if you look at him now, he's way too bulky. I watched him for Sevilla yesterday. He's way too bulky. And the same thing's happening with Pogba. Like 5 years ago, he was a lot skinnier. And the point I'm making is factors like this, as well as the way the club doesn't defend him, as well as the way he hasn't got players around him, come together to formulate a player that's not performing. And you can look at Sanchez, Falcao, Depay, Di Maria, like all of these different players, to say that it's just Pogba, you're actually doing exactly what
but the context was.
That's a good point.
But the context was Pogba. And 3 weeks ago, the context was Maguire. And the precise... Now, you're asking me a question, or you're putting a question out there, why wasn't he supported? I don't know. Maybe he's not very well liked in the dressing room. I don't know. Maybe Maguire is. What I can tell you is the manner in which Maguire being booed was handled was exactly the same way as Pogba. I said Maguire wasn't good enough. I said Maguire needed to step up. Maguire needed to accept the responsibility of his poor performances. Maguire was never an £80 million centre-back. He wasn't at it. His interviews were robotic and poor, and he dialed it in. So I used the same very robust language about Maguire as other people did in the media, as is being used by Pogba. And Pogba was the one that was booed on Saturday. So it's natural that we're going to be talking specifically and explicitly about Pogba.
But it's also fine to listen to other other opinions as to why these players are struggling.
Of course.
And actually, what you
Aiden's trying to give us a list of length of your arm. But Aiden, the bottom line is, before you go, and we appreciate your time and the call you've made, the bottom line is, even you would admit that Pogba has massively underachieved, would you not?
Yeah. Like, mate, 100%. In no way I'm not saying that one of my favourite midfielders of all time is massively underperforming. But the point I'm making is, by focusing on specific players constantly, instead of the fact that the Glazers have a multifaceted impact on this club, when it's the injuries, when it's the players that people are around, and the way they support them, you're actually doing exactly what they want and blaming not the people that are making the problems, but the people that are being victim of them. If it was just Pogba, you wouldn't have Falcao, Sanchez, Di Maria, all these players that have failed.
Yes,
and that's what I want to get.
So what we're talking about is the wrong delegation, delegating the wrong people to the important positions. Because if you have Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola, who are the two best examples.
So it's not Pogba's fault.
The decline of Man United supersedes just the Glazers. The Glazers are not a good fit, and they will never be accepted because of the manner which. But they don't step onto the pitch. They don't manage these players on a daily basis, and they don't recruit them.
But if
they
if the technical director and the coach, manager are put in place and they do the right things, then you get the best sports science guy who does the fitness. Look at Liverpool's team. Man City,
of course, that's what it should be like.
Relentless with the
and we're arguing for that. Now, in this instance, with Mourinho, I have never been anything other than an admirer of his. I don't like his attitude towards the end of the Manchester United thing. I do think that sometimes football people disappear up their own backsides and get carried away with what they don't get rather than what they have got. But there's never been a case where I've been sat here, and you have been sitting there, he's a dinosaur, he's a done deal, there's darkness, wherever he goes, he brings chaos. And I don't believe that. What he won't do...
So he wasn't at either United or Tottenham?
No. Well,
bringing darkness
what they
into
needed
a light
at Manchester United was Jose Mourinho getting a hold of a few of those players. That's precisely what they needed.
If only the listeners and the viewers on YouTube and Facebook could have seen you when allegedly Mourinho walked in the studio. Apparently,
do I have to get involved in this?
He nearly fell over
trying
to bow to him.
What we can actually do is we can enlighten them, because we can show them what actually happened when Mourinho walked through the door and thanked me for my comments, and I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, you're bloody useless, and burst out laughing. So actually, what you're saying is a complete contrast to what happened, but what actually happens when you do your little salivating bit, and we all have to put bibs on because we're getting covered in the saliva of you spontaneously combusting because somebody vaguely recognisable comes in a room. So don't you start.
Spencer Oliver's coming in a second. He's vaguely recognisable.
We could drown him, couldn't you? It's like how he's at.
Let's round this off. Is he still an inspirational manager?
Yes.
Today?
Yes. Ask Tammy Abraham what he thinks of him.
Yeah.
Tammy Abraham.
Does he have anything left to prove?
To himself, possibly, because you want to keep winning. You're only as good as what you do next. If you want to live on the past, then that's where you are confined to.
Yeah.
So he will consistently... Why does he keep taking jobs? Doesn't need the money, does he? He's gone to Roma on a project that is a challenging one. Fonseca was in there. You know, he wasn't doing a great job. They've got a billionaire owner, American billionaire owner, that wants to put his club forward. He's taken Tammy Abraham. Tammy Abraham the other day was raving about him.
True.
So, yes, I think he is for a certain type of player. And for a certain type of player that understands that actually who's the boss, who they account to, what their responsibility is, and what their end game has to be.
Yeah.
That's where Mourinho thrives in, and not in this country where somehow, for whatever reason, they've waited for him. They've waited for him in my famous long grass. They've waited for him because he once upon a time said what he was going to do and then proved it. And whilst we like it in one hand, we don't like it in another, because what we like to do is build them up so we can whittle them down. And we've whittled Mourinho down by saying he's a dinosaur, he's darkness, he's in the other. He's an outstanding coach, and he still is an outstanding coach. Now, whether he's as good as Guardiola and Klopp in the timelines that we're talking about now, maybe he's just a little bit different.
They bring light into a dark room.
I'm not sure that's right. I think they've got the zeitgeist right now. I wonder how Mourinho would get on if he was given the group of players he had at Manchester City. Some people will say, shut up, because he's not only got that group of players, he's increased them. Some people would say, specifically you, shut up. But Guardiola has increased the performance of those players. So maybe there's an argument to be said that Mourinho wouldn't have done that.
Are you auditioning for a part in some Shakespearean play?
It's me,
very animated.
It's me, myself and Irene, isn't it? Shut up. No, shut up yourself. Shut up.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.